Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever this podcast may find you. It is I, as always, Gavin.
And I, Justin.
And we did some, well, you haven't done any exploration, but you've explored the idea of exploration.
I've explored the idea of a very long road trip with some inspiration from both a car that I own and a couple of road trip videos that I've watched recently that I think could be a really cool redemption arc for said car.
I wonder what this car, actually, I know what the car is.
I'll spoil it right now. It's my Audi that has been constantly troublesome.
So you want to put 7,000 miles in 3 weeks on your most famously unreliable car you've ever had ever.
With a third of that being off pavement.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's figure out what you're on about.
Well, I guess we can go ahead. I just started recording. I guess we can go ahead and record Gratefuls.
We could record Gratefuls.
We've been doing that.
Yeah, we have been. To anyone that's listening, let us know if this is anything that's at all interesting to you.
Mm-hmm.
If we like listening in to our Gratefuls. What am I grateful for? I'm grateful for job opportunities. I'm grateful for. I'm stoked on the Overland Expo that's coming up.
Yeah, in 2 weeks, right?
Less, because we leave not this Wednesday, but next Wednesday.
Gotcha.
So, 10 days from now?
Yeah.
We leave in 10 days. And, driving down to Flagstaff and setting up shop. And it's going to be just a fucking whirlwind. It's going to be insane.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to have to get my ass in gear for sure as far as, content creation, just being on top of it.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm grateful for that, and grateful for the rock stars of a crew that we have of people, that are setting up, and I'm setting up too. But
yeah,
I don't count myself in that group of rock stars.
You're just the one that videos the rock stars.
Well, and I will be setting up too.
Uh-huh.
I'll be there, doing that. But yeah, I'm grateful for that. Grateful for my girlfriend. I'm grateful for spring actually being here and not just going from winter into summer, even though we did have some warmer days.
Kind of been a delayed spring, because usually by now we'd be a little bit hotter than we have been, at least in the past few days.
It's 60 right now?
Yeah.
Ish? We should be in the 70s?
Yeah.
I think.
But I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like the 60s more than the 70s.
The 70s are great. Love the 70s.
I like the 60s.
72 is perfection.
65 for me.
69.
Nice.
It is nice. 69 is a nice temperature. What else? What else am I grateful for? I got an oil change booked.
Nice.
Grateful for that. Honestly, I'm grateful for the photo shoots and the content that outside of work that I've been able to kind of take advantage of. Say Michael with his NSX and these guys with this FJ40.
Yeah.
OG Land Cruiser. The Horological Society that we just had an event with Formex. Formex is an interesting watch company because they started in the late 90s, and for a long time they had a pretty, I think, dated design.
Mm-hmm.
But in the past few years, they've really ramped up. And they have these really cool. Honestly, I think you would like some of them. Some of them might be a bit flashy to your taste.
Okay.
Because they do have really high quality, high quality polishing and finishing.
High quality.
High quality.
High qualishing. We're going to start using that now. Whenever I see a really polished wheel, I'm just going to say, that's some high qualishing you got there.
Man, the steering on this NSX is very high quality.
Very qualished.
Anyways, I've only had one cup of coffee today, which I might change that. Yeah, high quality, the finishing and the polishing is cool, but what they do have is these really interesting engineering solutions for things. So one thing is cool is you could pop out bezels and replace bezels on the fly.
Okay.
Easier than a watch strap is. You literally just go in and pry it with your fingers and it pops off. And you pop it back, a new one on or something.
Gotcha.
So that's cool. They have bracelets that have a hidden clasp. So check out the watch that I'm wearing right now. There's a defined clasp and there's a fold over thing and you pop it out. They have, and Rolex does this and other brands do this too, where but they have them on their more higher end stuff, Presidents.
Yeah.
Rolex Presidentials have them. But Formex, they have that, but they also have a dive extension with that. So a dive extension is like, I don't know, however long this is, maybe like a 5mm extension.
Yeah.
And you can pop that out like if your wrist swells up, like on hotter days and stuff. What else do they have? They have like super easy interchangeable bracelets that you can like pop in and out. Like it's not even like spring bar. It's not even like a quick release on like an aftermarket leather strap. It's easier than that. It's a button. You just push the button and it pops out.
Gotcha. Okay.
Which is cool. And like they kind of live in the $1,300 range to like maybe $2,500.
Okay.
So it's like actually somewhat attainable. It's not like, $5K and up kind of thing. So, and like their designs have, I think, have come a long way. And like in person, especially, like I thought they were pretty. So,
okay.
Anyways, that was a tangent.
Yeah.
Back to gratefuls. Yeah, grateful for that. Yeah, I'm grateful for a lot of shit.
Yeah, and I think, let's see, where do I want to start with? I'm grateful for Google, not just for creating us a home on YouTube, but also just for the usefulness of it if you know how to use it correctly.
Okay.
Like just being
for like these
being
things?
able to search up terms and solutions and forum posts, effectively anything.
Doing research for video things, let's say.
Yeah,
like
just
equipment.
Yeah, like equipment and GoPros and shit like that.
Yeah.
Just the extensive usefulness of that tool. I'm also grateful, speaking of equipment, despite the fact that, yes, equipment is still an investment, it is constantly getting cheaper. You rewind, I was just watching a video where somebody was talking about like how cheap equipment has gotten. And they're like, yeah, 12 years ago, to try to get the quality of a video that you could do today with like a GoPro Hero 10 or whatever, you would have been spending an absurd amount of money, like 10, 12 plus years ago.
Who was I talking to? I was talking to someone recently about when GoPros first came out.
Mm-hmm.
My dad had, not like he had something to say about it, but he had thoughts, which is interesting because back in the 80s and 90s, he was a ski videographer.
Mm-hmm.
So he was like big into skiing and is actually a somewhat decorated freestyle skier.
Yeah.
And so he kind of stopped doing that and transitioned into ski video production. So he didn't work for Warren Miller, but think that type of film.
Yeah.
And he would be chasing people down mountains with like a camera over his shoulder. They would be making turns, but he'd be straight lining down.
Yeah.
No turns.
Yeah.
With 40 pounds on his shoulder kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But at that time, there was also something called a lipstick camera, which the camera itself resembled a tube of lipstick in terms of like, cylindrical and like length, size, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Then there'd be a wire that would run from it into a backpack, which is where all the data was captured.
Yeah.
And so, fast forwarding from, say, 1987 to 2007, which was like early GoPro stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, this is like, what, a $300 or $500 camera or whatever that you can like do anything with.
Yep.
Like, this is amazing. So.
Yeah, because even the main thing they brought up was audio, because they're like, man, to get proper, good, either wireless or wired transmission audio even 20 years ago, you were spending 5 digits.
Oh, so much, yeah.
You were spending an insane amount. Whereas now, like our little mic packs we use that are amazing, that we love so much, were $300.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy transition, and completely wireless. So like tons of crazy stuff. So I'm grateful for that. I'm also grateful for just the area of the world we live in, not just the country, not just the state, but like North America in general, and how relatively free we are on like this continent to, for instance, go and do road trips and things like that. Like it's fairly easy, especially going like northbound to Canada, to pass through and access a ton of beautiful areas, beautiful roads.
Yeah.
And we have probably, if I remember correct, if I remember correctly, if I could speak correctly, we have the most amount of like paved drivable roads in the world per like country and capita. It's
interesting.
So like the fact that I could get in a car here and drive all the way to the East Coast, and then if I felt like it, drive all the way through Canada, all the way up to Alaska, and there's a road that would take me there, is pretty amazing.
Well, and also just like the amount of time or amount of area over time that you can cover here, as opposed to European countries, is insane. Because I mean, if you could cover from California to New York if you're not doing a bonsai trip like you like to do,
Yeah.
but if you like to do it like a normal person,
Yeah.
you could do it in like 3-4 days.
Yeah, comfortably do it in 3 to 4 days.
3 to 4 days.
Mhm.
Then look at the size of Ireland.
Yeah.
That's probably 2 days, and Ireland is probably like across is probably as far as like from California to Colorado.
Possibly even less than that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fairly small, and a lot of that's just, especially here in the West, we have the advantage of geography that just allows large straight lines.
Sure.
So that helps.
I mean, they're
out a lot.
boring, but you cover a lot of ground.
You do. And fortunately, all the old roads that still exist and go around shit are still there. You can still take
True.
the B roads.
Yep.
So I'm grateful for that, and I'm also just grateful to have the cars and stuff that I have, and just to have the ability to do things with them.
How's the Audi? Every time.
No.
Every time
Hang
I
on.
just gotta twist it.
So it's funny you mentioned that, because that's actually what I wanted to transition into. I had an idea. So Gavin knows this, and those that have listened will also have heard me mention this. I don't watch as much car content as I used to. It's just as my content tastes have changed, I've changed more towards tech content as well as like exploration content, and a little bit more away from cars. But I still will dip my toe in fairly occasionally to the odd thing that interests me. And over the past couple days, I ended up stumbling across 2 that were relatively interesting. One of which was Throttle House. What they're doing, they're releasing now. They already did a Arizona trip with 2 older cars. One's a Toyota.
I watched that. Yeah.
Yeah. So one's a Toyota 8086, and the other one is a first gen, so Mark I Volkswagen GTI.
Yeah.
Fantastic video. They're great guys. I love their chemistry. They're hilarious.
Yeah.
And also great content creators. And it was cool to see that like they, in doing this trip, had sponsors. Like, for instance, Honda sponsored their camera vehicle.
Yep.
And they had 4 camera guys with them with a whole crew.
Well, they had 2 camera cars, I believe, a Honda and a Toyota.
Yeah.
I think.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, those would have been press cars. They would have those are from the press circuit. And who knows? They might make a video on those later.
Yeah, and they also had like I think 4 to 5 individuals, like a full crew, basically.
Yeah.
So that was
Well,
cool.
they always do.
Yeah, they always do, because they're pretty for like the size that they are, being that they're like moderate to large size as far as the automotive content creators go.
Oh yeah, they're heavyweights.
They're pretty heavyweights when it comes to like the amount of like gear and stuff they have. Like they film with Reds. I mean, awesome stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But then I also ended up stumbling across a Gears and Gasoline series that I missed, which was the redo of the Alaska trip.
With which cars?
With the Evo and the STI.
Okay, gotcha.
So they attempted it 4 years ago, but only got into the Panhandle due to a couple of different issues. So they redid it, and it was actually 9 months ago. I just missed it. So it got fed to me in recommendations, and I watched that whole series, and I was like, God, that was awesome, because they take them from Florida all the way through the United States. They leave North Dakota, go up through Alberta in central Canada, and then take the Alaska-Canada highway to go all the way up through the Yukon and actually enter proper Alaska.
Yeah.
So I was like, man, shit like that makes me want my Audi to be running.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did a little digging and was like, I wonder if there's anything else up there. Like, I wonder if I set a random goal for myself to do something crazy like that with the Audi, if I could actually have a fuel to the fire to, like, truly get it going. Because part of the problem I've had with that car is that I just don't need it necessarily.
No, you don't.
So there hasn't been anything pushing me to get it done, even though I would like to get it done, because it would be a better random daily than the Saab.
Definitely, yes.
So I found a couple things that made me really curious. I'm pulling them up right now. I'm going to put them on the screen for Mr. Gavin. So I found a road just north of the actual, like,
Also, can you beat my mic? I'm
Yeah.
going to make some adjustments. Okay.
Cool. So I found up here a road just like north of where they were at that was really interesting, that I had never seen before.
Yeah.
And it's called Top of the World.
There's a few top of the worlds. There's one in Moab for sure.
Yep.
But there must be one up here. Is it in the Yukon?
It is. It is deep in the Yukon. So,
Is it paved?
most of it.
Moderately paved?
Yes. It transitions from pavement to gravel several times. But it is right. It's kind of hard to find, just like randomly searching for it. I can actually find it.
So what you can also do, if you don't drag, but if you click the little guy, all the roads light up.
Yeah, so it starts right here. It starts in a city called Dawson City. It's just north of where the actual Canada-Alaska highway is.
Sure.
But this stretch from Dawson City all the way to the actual Alaskan border, it's about 40 to 50 miles. But I found it, and I was like, okay, that looks like nice, long, and sweeping.
Yeah.
And then I pulled up Street View, and
I mean, we're in the clouds here,
so this...
so that's not it. I don't think that's what you wanted to show me.
No, and this monitor that we use to display is also not the best for color. There we go. Okay, so it basically runs the whole spine of a mountain range for that 50 miles. And when it's not in the clouds, all of this stuff is beautifully colored.
The stuff being the mountainside,
Yeah.
the grass and stuff.
So I was just looking at that, like, wouldn't it be cool if I designed a trip where I could basically drive this road, which is the third most northerly highway in Canada.
Okay.
Because there's also, in North America in general, because the other one is Prudhoe Bay, which is the long 400-mile stretch that basically is just used by oil rigs to get up to the north end of Alaska.
Oh, cool.
Basically make a trip where I drive all of these roads in one. There we go. And so I did. Where basically I would set off from here, go through Montana, all the way through Alberta, up to the Canada-Alaska highway, up through top of the world, and end up all the way as far north as you can go. And these are all public drivable roads.
Yep.
Drive back down, take Canada-Alaska the other direction, and drop down all the way through British Columbia, through Vancouver, and then back down.
So this whole trip, Google is indicating 126 hours of driving.
That is very conservative. It's probably quite a bit more than
Probably
that.
150.
And 7,000 miles.
Yeah.
Now, doing a trip like this,
You want to do this in your Audi?
that was the idea.
Okay.
So, doing a trip like this requires a bunch of different shit.
Does AAA go into Canada?
Yes.
Oh, good.
However, although AAA may say they go into Canada, and they do, there are plenty of points where you are not going to get rescued by AAA.
I was going to say, do they go up to Prudhoe Bay?
No. So,
Have you done research to prove that it doesn't?
yes. I do know that for a fact. So the road up to Prudhoe Bay in particular, which, if I zoom in, because I just can't remember the actual name of it, of course it's not going to tell me right now, that road is almost entirely unpaved from there all the way up. And it is considered the most lonely road in the world because there's 200-mile stretches where there is nothing.
Okay. So you're bringing extra gas probably for this, too.
Yes.
Okay.
So
what I'm hearing is overland Audi.
Kinda, yeah.
Okay.
All of these are graded, so they're not like actual off-roading. They
Sure.
are functionally gravel-paved roads that are maintained,
Yeah.
but they are not kind.
So when I see this and when I hear you talk about this, I'm kind of picturing what you would need kind of thing, especially with my recent experience with overland vehicles.
Yep.
So are you thinking like a roof rack with a basket maybe?
That was kind of part of the idea.
Get some not racks bracks, but what's the other one? Basically it's these gas cans that have the hole in the middle and like the mounting system goes through that hole and like you spin it and like it mounts.
Yep.
Rotopacks.
Yep.
Wow, that was really dramatic. Sorry, listeners. But yeah, like Rotopacks, get a couple of those at least. Are you thinking basket on the top, maybe to like take extra stuff? Are you thinking rocket box, like a Thule?
Probably just a basket because the car itself is fairly sizable. Same with the trunk. Like I could fit.
And I imagine you're staying in hotels this whole time.
Yeah, that would be the goal because It also depends on where you do it. That top of the world highways only open summers. So like I would have to do it somewhere in between
Next year.
June. Well, not next year necessarily, but like if I was to do it regardless of year, somewhere in between June and September.
Yeah.
And it would be about 3 total weeks.
Wow.
There and back.
Okay.
So it'd be a huge trip. But you can camp, but there's a lot of obstacles. The obstacles aren't even in that season snow or anything, more as wildlife.
Okay.
Namely, this is deep in bear country.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of...
So you're packing heat then at that point.
Yeah, so if you were going to camp, which I'd probably have something as an emergency backup in case I had to, because there are several stretches of this where there is nothing for dozens upon dozens of miles. Yeah, I would definitely have bear spray and the necessary precautions for the event, and
Boomsticks.
and boomsticks for the necessary precautions in the event that something happened.
Yeah.
I'd probably also have a spare up top in the rack.
You would at least need a spare.
Yep.
Yeah.
Um,
You need a spare, you need gas, you need tools.
Yep.
Extra oil, probably.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're putting 7,000 miles on?
Yeah, I would be doing an oil change. I'd probably be doing 2 oil changes, actually, because that car, its regular interval is 8,000 from the factory. I have done
3 to 5?
Yeah, 3 to 5.
So if you get an oil change like basically the day before you leave, and then you drive up to Prudhoe Bay, oil change, and then one when you get back.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Because this is a lot of, about half of it is going to be, we'll call it relatively normal highway driving, like highway speed, 60 to 70, stuff like that.
Yeah.
The other half of it is, we'll say, 40 to 50 on most of it, where like they are, because I've even seen people do these roads fairly well graded, either gravel or not as great dirt tracks.
Like washboard?
Yeah, but then primarily the last couple 100 miles going up to Prudhoe Bay is going to be like probably 20 to 30 max. Like it's pretty... it's clearly a road that has a specific purpose, which is to get oil rigs to and from the top of Alaska.
Right. So okay. And you want to do this in what is famously known as your least reliable vehicle ever.
Yes.
So this is probably happening at the earliest 2024.
Probably.
So you have a whole year to basically train. You're training yourself and your car for this.
Probably more my car than anything.
Well, yeah, because you like to drive.
Yes.
What other so I have a couple of things.
Yep.
What road trips would you want to take as prep to kind of make yourself feel at least more comfortable to take on a mammoth of a road trip like this?
There's one I could do that I've actually sort of done before already that's going deep into Montana and or North Dakota.
Okay.
So there was a delivery I took when I was working for the trucking company that went way out to a random town almost to the Canadian border in Montana that went through, we'll just call it similar enough territory that it would be comparable. So if I can find it, it's way up in one of these areas right here. It's called Heart Butte. It's actually a reservation.
Okay.
But similar type of thing where once you leave the graces of like Kalispell and you get off on some of these tracks, they're same thing. You're deep in the wilderness. You are just on dirt.
Sure.
There's not paved. There's not gas, anything like that. So you do have to plan ahead.
Yeah.
So it at least gives somewhat of a little bit of a taste of what I could expect.
Sure.
And how the car will do. Now, I'm not worried about, it's an Audi, I'm not worried about traction. I'm not worried about those things.
Especially if you go in the summer, too.
Exactly.
Yeah, if you go in like July.
The car will do fine. Even if I was to do it in early winter, I wouldn't be worried about the car performing in snow the way it should. The worries would be what else, with that car especially, could go wrong.
Right.
Now, at this point, enough things have gone wrong that enough things have been repaired.
You would think so, wouldn't you?
You know, you say that, but the problem I've always had is that everything I've repaired has stayed repaired. It's been
except for control arms.
Yeah. Well, I've got half of those done now. But everything I have repaired has stayed repaired. It's been something different.
And it's
that
a
has
turbo
broken.
5-cylinder. Those don't break.
Mechanically, yeah, I'm not worried about the car. Probably the only thing I'd have to do is valve stem seals, which I've done before. They're fairly easy, just because it does consume oil at the moment, and I'd want to reduce that.
Totally, yeah.
But that's something I can do in my own garage and have done before.
Do that like a month maybe before you leave it, so you can get some road miles around here on it.
Yeah.
Just so you could be like, okay,
we're good. Yeah, that's one. I know the cooling system's good. In fact, right now the cooling system's too good because the thermostat's stuck a little open, so it doesn't actually warm up all the way.
Yeah.
The radiator's good. I know the timing and like all the belts are good. All the rubber's good. Like there's so many things in that car that have been done. It's just now getting it to pass emissions, getting the rear end done because those are the control arms I haven't done. Is the rear shit. The suspension is good now because it has, on the front end, all been gone through, albeit it just needs a proper alignment and some camber plates because right now it has about 2 degrees of camber due to the lower. But even then, the lowering that is done on it is not enough to prevent it from doing this trip. It's not super low. It's just it's as low as it should have come from factory, in my opinion, if it was actually going to be a performance car like it was supposed to be.
Like an actual sports sedan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I would probably do a trip like that in preparation, which that trip up to Montana and back is a fairly easy 2.5 day trip, no problem. But it would give me a good enough understanding of how the car would perform on about 300-ish miles of those roads. As far as like other prep, like the car already needs new tires. It already needs several other things that would benefit this trip in the end, and make it even possible. Everything does function on the car, but there's a few little things I would add. For instance, doing that many miles, one of the problems the car has is that people in the 90s didn't think about, you need to power devices in a car. There's only one cigarette lighter output.
Okay.
So I'd add a couple of those wired just direct to battery.
Yeah, there's also, solar-powered battery packs that you could also get for, USB-powered things.
Yeah, so I definitely need some type of battery backup prevention. I would also have a jump pack as a
totally like a jackery type of device.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
because I would also have a tow rope and I would also have jumper cables.
You would need that, yeah.
But jumper cables rely on another car being able to jump you. A jump pack can do it itself.
Right.
So I would have both of those, and I already have the tools that I would need, and I know that car well enough to know like the amount of tools I would need without going overboard.
Right.
So that would be good. I also can count on that trip requiring me to bring, I would do this for content. I wouldn't do this for nothing.
You fucking better.
Yeah, exactly. If I was going to do something like this, it damn well is going to get a film, because the point of the film is going to be okay, cool. I am taking the car that has been the biggest pain in my ass, the most unrileable piece of shit.
I wish I could go do this with you.
I mean, and maybe we can. Maybe we can do it together if you want to spend 3 weeks in a car on roads like that with me.
Well, what I'd like to do in that case is, my work would not let me do this, but if I could steal a rig and take, the Gladiator.
That would be sweet.
Take the Gladiator and do this. Or take I would actually rather take the Tacoma, because that's got a canopy camper on it with propane heat.
Oh, yeah. That'd be perfect.
Yeah.
No, and that could be really cool. You never know. Maybe they'd be down for that if you proposed and said, hey, big picture here.
I would have so much so much time, so many weeks to get whatever fucking content in so many different scenarios.
Exactly. You're traveling through almost every type of terrain.
And that shit's decked out, too. I mean, the canopy camper on the truck alone is $40K.
So you never know. They might be more into that if you might think, if it's planned out far enough in ahead, and if there's very specific, I want to do this, and we'll make a video series about this on our channel, but shouting you guys out. Maybe they're even a sponsor. They
would have to be a sponsor.
Mm-hmm.
I would have to create content that is proprietary to them.
Yeah.
Such as, product photography or videography.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you get behind camera and I host a video of some kind of hey, here's what we've done to Violet.
Yeah.
As far as, the build or whatever.
I think that could be a distinct possibility. And that would be nice to have a backup vehicle, and that would be a great way to legitimately test that vehicle.
Yeah.
In every scenario. But even if that's not the case, with the Audi, I should be able to effectively carry everything I need and do everything I need with that car. This is all theoretical, because the car should be plenty capable of doing that, because the Gears and Gasoline video I watched that covered most of that same stuff that I'm mentioning, he did it in his track prepped Evo. So lowered,
Oh, yeah.
And they're both built engines. The STI also had a built engine,
Oh, yeah.
making 400 wheel and 500 wheel respectively.
Mm-hmm.
So they had a lot more potential problems that could go wrong with theirs, given what the vehicles were set up to be.
Right.
Versus me, where my vehicle still maintains pretty much all of its original drivetrain and
Well, the things that made it good to begin with.
yeah, and mechanically it doesn't. It's ironic at the beginning of that video, and there's no spoiler because this was 9 months ago that video series came out. The beginning of that video, the STI with the freshly built engine dies. So they have to restart the trip.
Well, I mean, almost similar to James on Throttle House with his AE86.
Yep.
Because did he warp ahead or something?
No, it in fact, at this point, I watched the video that just came out today, the second episode.
Oh, I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, and I won't spoil anything. The car is still running. That's the only thing I'm going to spoil.
Yeah.
But, like, the problem hasn't been found out. It's still persisting.
Interesting.
But, no, the Subaru did have a major oil leak and a couple other little things.
Oh, this is Subaru.
Yeah, that occurred. Yeah, it's just what it is.
Well,
I wouldn't. All I was going to say with that was that I wouldn't be mechanically worried about the actual like engine and stuff like that.
No, it's everything around it.
Making its factory power, that cast iron block will not have troubles.
That would be cool if you also had it tuned up a little bit too by that time.
That would be part of the thing. Like that's why I'm trying to search for a goal. Is if I have a goalpost, let's even say that it's like 2 years out, because then it could give me enough time to truly build it right.
Yeah.
And
then sell it.
I'm too deep in, my friend. That car ain't leaving me at this point. Anyways.
Do the trip and sell it.
You were gonna go on to.
Well, I was gonna say, I think in order to also do this properly, I think someone else needs to weigh in here.
Yeah.
And that individual is named Brian, who makes questionable decisions in a Ferrari 308.
Yeah, I would love to like pick his brain,
get in contact with him, because I mean he knows the everyday driver guys well.
Yeah.
He was actually on their podcast a little bit ago.
Mm-hmm.
I think he would be someone to pick a brain to pick for something like this.
I want to basically give the car a hero story, because at this point I've had good moments with the car, but for the most part, due to various reasons, it has just not run or not been legal.
Mm-hmm.
And when I know it's more possible, because like I already have in my head the vision for like the kind of the beginning of this, the intro to this video series, because I bet it'd probably be a 3-part video series.
That would, yeah,
like 3 40-ish minute videos.
Okay.
And like the intro in my head would be like, I've owned this car for 6 years and put less than 10,000 miles on it in that time, because the car, despite what it should be able to offer me, has given me nothing but problems. So I wanted to give it a story arc. I wanted to give it a moment where it could actually shine and do what it's supposed to do well. And before I hear it's an Audi, of course it's going to go wrong, shut up. Because especially these older ones, and I've owned multiple of them, so I do know this is the only one that has given me this kind of headaches. And there is plenty of people to back up that. You may have correct assumptions in some of the newer Audis, late B5s, B6s, B7s. Like, there is eras that you are correct that Audis had litanies of problems. However, these earlier ones, from a mechanical standpoint, should have been way better than the experience that I had with this car, and I know that because I've owned others.
It would be cool if there was. I'm just thinking about like the business aspect of like making a video like this, and I'm thinking about some way of getting like Scotto Hoonigans, maybe.
Yeah.
At least getting Dave involved.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I feel like that would be interesting.
That would be interesting, because as far as the business aspect of this goes, I would probably need 2 years to prepare not just the car, but financially.
Oh yeah,
because
sure.
this is a bucket list type of trip, right? 7,000 miles in 3 weeks in a car that may or may not make it. I mean, it's the makings for all the good road trip films, right? And on top of that, gas once you pass into the Yukon is $10 a gallon, and the car on its best day gets 20 on the freeway.
Right.
So I'm probably going to be averaging 15, 16.
Yeah.
I'm probably
sometimes 10 probably.
Mm-hmm, I'm probably going to spend $3,000 to $4,000 on fuel alone. It is not going to be cheap or easy. And then once you add in all the other costs, not even including getting the car ready, it's probably going to be close to $5,000 to $6,000. So there's going to have to be a good amount of money, and it's something that I would do myself because there ain't no way we're going to have the money to do that.
No.
Even the big companies don't have the money. Big guys don't have necessarily the money to do that out of pocket because if you look at all the Gears and Gasoline videos, they have advanced auto parts. If you look at, for instance, even the first one we just talked about with Throttle House, they have like 6 sponsors helping them do that because this shit costs a lot of money.
Right.
So,
well, did Auto Tempest buy those cars, or did they buy those cars?
They bought them.
Okay.
Yeah. At least as far as it seems from the video, we can only surmise.
Right. James, or it was James that...
It was James that bought the A86
yeah,
for allegedly 16, but actually 30 plus.
6.
Yeah. So there would be a lot of time I would need to financially prepare and make sure that like everything back home with the business is like good. Be like, hey, by the way, I'm gone for 3 weeks, and by the way, I probably won't have cell signal for 2/3 of that.
Mm-hmm.
I hope nothing happens.
Which is why I'm like, do I need to like go and like steal a vehicle and like be a backup?
Yeah. And I'm not opposed to that whatsoever because that would be fun. Like it would be.
We'd be fucking sick of each other at the end of it.
That's one thing I could definitely see happening.
Yeah.
Especially if we were in the same car. Like you would definitely. Yep. There you go. Yeah. He shakes his head. And I agree. As much as I love Gavin, as much as I know he loves me, us in the same car for that many miles and that long of a time in that type of conditions.
I would be like, Justin, just slow down a little bit. You'd be like, why? I'd be like, slow the fuck down. And then I would just do a 20-mile-an-hour rollout.
Yeah, it wouldn't work. We'd have to be in separate cars.
Yeah.
I just had that little wave, especially what mainly spawned that wave was that top of the world road. Because I've never seen, I didn't, in my very brief search, I'm sure there maybe is one deep in the YouTubes. However, I didn't find anybody that had like easy video of having driven that.
Sure.
And it's just cool that it's a seasonal road that has very little purpose, but that is like you're driving in the clouds on the spine of a mountain for like 50, 60 miles.
Right.
And the only way to get there is by taking a ferry. There isn't a direct way there. So just a lot of cool things lined up in one, paired with the fact that I could finally give my car a hero story if everything was prepared correctly.
Right. In theory.
In theory. And actually put the mileage on that it deserves. Because like I said, I haven't done even more than 10,000 miles in 6 years, which is the opposite of the norm for me.
Mm-hmm.
If that car was fully functioning, I would have put a lot of miles on it by now.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Because it would be, a better daily than the Saab, as much as I love it. It's a big 4-door sedan that's a lot more comfortable and has all-wheel drive. Like, it's the ultimate winter beater.
Yeah.
So. Well,
and it's funny you also bring up Gears and Gasoline on something like this because the trip that I took last year up to Sun Valley, I intentionally took the long scenic route to get there and drove up to Boise and then took, I forget the name of the actual road, but it's through the Sawtooths to get, and the Sawtooths, dumps you right into Ketchum, where Sun Valley is, and that's where the Tour de Force happened, and it happens every year. I don't know if I'm going this year. I'd like to go, but I don't think it's happening.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was like 190 miles of mostly squiggles and then like, going up in altitude and down in altitude and like seeing like these super panoramic, views of like the Sawtooth mountain range. And I love that feeling of just being small, but like by nature standards.
Yeah.
Like seeing something so fucking huge. You're like, oh my God, that's so huge and it's right there and I'm just looking up at it. Like it's an amazing feeling.
Yeah. And
I mean, on this trip that you're talking about, you're going to get loads of that.
Well, yeah, and after this, while this is processing, I could even show you that Gears and Gasoline one because that is like, the thing is they kept coming back to it. They're like, we kept thinking it wouldn't get better, and then it did every time.
Yeah.
Because it's just, you're in the middle of nowhere driving next to rivers that are next to 5,000-foot tall mountains.
Yeah.
It's the ultimate scenic road trip that also goes through a bunch of different scenery. You go through, like I mentioned earlier, like you leave from the desert, you go through North Desert, like through Idaho and shit like that, go into Montana where you're in green flatlands for a minute and then transition straight into mountains. And then all of a sudden, you're driving through the middle of nowhere in Midwest Canada and then straight into the absolute bowels of the Rocky Mountains. Like, you go through everything.
Yeah.
And that's what's cool to me, is there's just nothing quite like it, because even if I leave in the summer, again, I'll transition from 95 degrees here to where by the end, the sun doesn't set and high is like 50. Like, it's not, I'm only transitioning one time zone.
Yeah.
But I'm transitioning, going longitudinally going north,
Yeah.
I'm literally going through what would be the equivalent of like 6 or 7 time zones if they went north to south.
Sure. Oh my God.
Yeah, again, especially doing this in the summer, it'll be crazy because I'll arrive in Prudhoe Bay at like God knows 2 a.m. and the sun's still wide open, and I'm like, oh.
This is why 23.0 uses light suppression technology, because it is dark as fuck in those tents.
Yeah.
And you could actually sleep
Mm-hmm.
totally fine.
Yeah, so I think that this might be a new item I'll flush out and add to my bucket list.
Yeah.
I would probably also, for safety's sake, the only major modification I'd make to the car besides putting a rack on it would probably be a light bar, either a light bar or pod lights. Some type of lights for nighttime driving in the sections that it'll be necessary just for safety, not even for looks.
Yeah.
I would just add them to the light bar, to the actual front of the cage itself. I wouldn't put them on the car
That's good.
because I don't care to keep them there after, really.
Yeah.
I'm not.
It would be cool, though, if you'd like to keep the car in, like, I mean, you'd wash it, obviously, but keep it in the same state as it was.
When the trip was done.
Yeah, well, and just, like, the car stays that way. I think that would be kind of cool, too.
Yeah, and I would be very much for that. And I think I just flush out more of the idea and figure out like.
I wish we were larger content creators, because I do see a project that where it's like, oh well, you could go to 1552 and get some like cool wheels and like some other company for tires and get like some mud flaps and like have like a almost rally inspired look.
Yeah,
because like old 4000s and 5000s.
Oh yeah,
like they pull off that look really really well.
They look fantastic.
And like your car, you know, with some like Integra type wheels or something like that, or maybe they're smaller versions of like their HD wheels.
Yeah,
you know, to go on something like that. You know, with some balloony tires and mud flaps, it would just with the cage on top and the lights.
Yeah, and I would have a couple options as far as that is concerned. I could drop down comfortably to 16s, even 15s with those brakes and put some pretty fat tires on it if I wanted to. I probably wouldn't. I've watched 5 videos where individuals have taken cars that quote unquote shouldn't be there, and they've all done it comfortably on all seasons.
Yeah.
Just because, again, it is still maintained. It's not literally driving through straight wilderness. The tracks are maintained, and
they have to get those trucks up there.
Exactly. So I wouldn't necessarily be worried about having like super swampers on it. In fact, I'd probably err towards all seasons just for the sake of like getting my mileage up while I can on the freeway.
True.
So that I don't like get 15 and then down to 12.
Yeah.
That would be painful.
Yeah.
But I'd probably do that. I'd probably leave it at the height that it is now. I'd probably leave the exhaust. I'd actually change the exhaust because the exhaust that's on it now sounds decent, but it hangs down pretty low. I'd probably get it properly rebuilt to not hang down as low. And
can you just change the geometry of the hangers?
No, it wasn't built correctly.
Oh.
So it wasn't, whoever built it, it does sort of follow the curves that it should to go over the rear axle and stuff like that, but not well.
Huh. Interesting.
I had to get it, like, when I got it, and I got it for dirt cheap from Dave, funny enough.
Yeah.
Because it was off a car he pulled to junk. It had to be modified to fit mine just because it was built so poorly.
Interesting.
But it's okay. It was a basically free MagnaFlow catback, so like I can't really complain.
Fuck it. Yeah.
Can't really complain. It sounds decent.
Yeah.
At least I can hear the car now, whereas the car before, oh my God, I weighed the exhaust I pulled off that car. It weighed 120 pounds.
Wow.
It had a front massive resonator and a rear massive muffler, and those things felt like they were made of concrete.
Yeah.
So, like, I would fix that. I don't even know. In a weird way, I would kind of even want to do it with the wheels that are currently on there, the black ones.
What's on it?
They're the Alzor, which is ECS Tuning's in-house brand, but they were made by a reputable manufacturer, just white labeled. I'd have to go look at the inside of the wheel again.
Interesting.
So they're like, they technically are reps, yes, but they were manufactured by a noteworthy manufacturer that does do OEM work.
Sure.
So they're okay wheels. And I think if I did just leave those, it would be kind of even more funny, where it's like I didn't completely change this car in that many ways. It is kind of the way it was, just with a ton of fixes and a roof box and things of that nature. And I do agree. I think I would want to leave it in that state somewhat afterwards.
Yeah.
And probably collect stickers along the way and have on one of the rear glasses, the journey in sticker form, like linearly.
That would be cool. And a lot of Tacoma guys and FJ guys do have a thing about patches.
Yeah.
So you could even like have a thing like with patches, like you wouldn't do this, but like along your headliner.
Yeah.
You know?
Sadly, that headliner's too pristine.
Yeah, no, I know. I know where I stand.
Oh, yeah. No, and like the best part about it is that car, it just needs a hero story. Sorry, I know I'm coming back to that, but that's where like I just think it would be cool.
And something that isn't just like across country, or something that isn't just like here to the coast.
No.
Or something like it needs like because it's put you through so much shit.
And it needs that redemption factor. And just doing a cross country drive is honestly comfortable in that car. It's great on long cruises.
Yeah.
But there's so many other things you could do that with.
I think a good stress test also would be doing Mount Nebo.
Yeah.
Because it goes up to 10? The road itself goes up to 10?
I think so, yeah.
I think, which is like a roughly 6,000 foot climb.
Mm-hmm. And we've done Mount Nebo with it because I did it.
I know,
Yeah.
but then things happen.
Then a boost hose blew.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I've solved that problem because I have all of my.
But also, if you did that like during summer as well, like that's a good heat stress test and the load stress test for everything. Like, yeah, you did it 3 years ago. Let's do it again.
Exactly. So,
which is crazy. That was 3 years ago.
It's wild. That car hasn't been registered in 2 years again. This is the third time in my ownership that it's spent more than a year not registered.
Well, the thing to me is that's weird is that was just after I got my Fiesta.
Yeah.
Like I still had my Vertical Mile Rally stickers on it.
Here's some frame for reference. So since you got your Fiesta, that car was not running and has only done 700 miles since.
Oh my fucking God.
And you've put almost 50,000 on your Fiesta.
Yeah.
And that car has done literally 100 times less mileage.
Wow. Yeah, because I've taken my car to Boise like 3 or 4 times, one of which was through the Sawtooths. I've taken it to L.A. twice.
Mm-hmm.
I've taken it to Moab. It's been my commute vehicle for 3 years. And I've also done a track day, as previously mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
Up to Park City a bunch, and like drives to the Park City Car Club, and just a bunch of canyon days. Yeah, it's been good.
Yeah,
it's been a good car,
and that's where I want to get this thing to. That's always been my goal, is to get this thing to the point where it is a good car, because I know it can be.
Yep,
it's just always been damned and determined to prove me wrong.
Well,
and so now I'm going to be like,
you're not asking this time.
Exactly.
You're telling.
Exactly. So I definitely want to do that. But now that I have like rambled about all that, like
you really have.
I really have. But I do think, I hope it's interesting to the audience, because that like it was a pretty substantial ramble on like what you would do to do a trip like this. I actually had one other interesting thing. I don't know if you heard that we got news of.
I saw you had the Integra Type-S tab pulled up.
We have the pricing.
Yeah, it's $51,000.
According to their website, 50,800. So yes, effectively.
I saw 51.5, but yeah. I mean, yeah, and I saw comments on posts regarding this saying that it's too expensive for an Acura, and I'm like, since fucking when?
Yeah.
I mean, people look at this car and they are aware of, and this is the thing that bugs me about modern car culture, is we put so much emphasis on what the drivetrain is and how it may or may not be affected in 50,000 miles.
Yep.
And then that is ultimately, or the car is ultimately judged on that. Not to say that the Civic Type R engine is unreliable, but people look at that and they know the Civic Type R engine and transmission is in it, and they go, oh, well, that must mean that it is a Civic Type R. It fucking isn't. It just isn't. Look at the body. Look at the design and how it's more sculpted, and then go to the interior, and it's very much a different category of car.
I mean, the funny thing is that the interior, yes, while it maintains a tiny bit of some Civic Type R influence, like it does have the same kind of like dash layout with those same type of vents. That's the only thing.
Yeah.
Like the rest of it is completely different. The seats are completely different.
Seats and mostly dash and like the console and infotainment, and like how shit's even screwed together. Scroll down.
It is like an entirely
more interior
second
stuff.
layer. Like, okay, there's that.
It looks the fucking business.
It does. For some reason, that's all they have on their website at the moment. Like, there's not even. I was hoping initially when I pulled this up to do like a build. They don't even have
really?
They don't even have the build.
Go to vehicle. Since I haven't been on their website yet.
So if you go to vehicles and if you click on the Type S section, it's not even listed there yet, at all. See, coming soon, but then it just has the.
This is their Type S brand.
Yeah. And
Gotcha.
so if we click on the Explore the Integra Type-S, I believe it just takes us back to that same place. So right now their website's in a loop. You can't build the car yet.
Yeah.
You can't look at that many photos.
What happens when you just go to Integra?
If I just go to Integra, I think it just takes me... Yeah, so it's just the regular Integra page with nothing to do with the Type-S.
You could lease that for $400 a month?
Honda has some pretty competitive leasing terms.
That makes me reconsider some things.
So now you do have to read. So 3,000 due at signing. So that is dropping 3,000. So if you were able to get approved without that 3,000 down, it would probably be closer to 500 a month. But that's still not bad, and that's probably with a standard 12,000 mile a year lease.
Yeah.
That's still a good amount of car for that, though.
That's a lot of car for that.
Yeah, and they're, I mean, it's a fucking Honda. At the end of the day, it is a Honda, so, like, you know it's going to be economical and reliable.
And it's not like they have a shit engine in it either.
No.
It is the Civic Si motor.
Yeah.
That's in that.
And I think one of the other things that frustrates me about modern car culture is we've gotten really good at, similar to what you said with comparing drivetrains, looking at it being like, it's just a Honda that's up-badged. Yes, it is, but there is plenty more than enough changed. In fact, I'd argue there seems on the surface to be more changed going from Civic to Integra than going from, like, for instance, Golf R to S3.
In this iteration, you're actually wrong. There are people that are not just trolls on the internet, but actual journalists that actually look at the price difference between Civic Si and Integra Type R. Or sorry, just base Integra.
Yeah.
My bad.
Yeah.
And people are liking the interior and the livability of the Civic more than the Integra, especially when there's like a $7,000 price difference, and you're like, well, you don't get symmetrical or not symmetrical, but super handling all-wheel drive in this.
True.
It's the same layout. What the fuck? The Type S, on the other hand, I do see as something that, like, cars are expensive now. And I also think that people that are these trolls or online commenters, they look at what Integras might have used to cost.
Yeah.
Like the last gen Integra, and then they look at this and they're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
But like, you're getting so much more car now, and then cars in general are just more expensive now, and there's inflation. There's a lot of factors that come into this, and it's not just Acura coming in to, bankroll this shit.
Well, and yeah, it's difficult because the average car purchase price is now over $40,000. I believe it's 42.
No, it's like 50. It's getting up to 50.
Yeah.
It had a massive like $7,000 or $8,000 jump in the last 6 months.
I just looked this up like last week, so I'm curious.
I heard something over the last
48.8.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's getting real close to 50.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean it's getting up there. It's almost 50 fucking grand as an average new car purchase
because people
price.
keep spending $80,000 to $100,000 on trucks.
Yes, I know.
And Teslas and
all that.
Porsches and shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like not the fun Porsches either.
So I mean, in theory then, like this Integra is coming in at just barely above average.
Yeah.
It's
whereas, 15 years ago or 10 years ago, a $50,000 car was a nice car.
Yeah, like my Audi was a $51,000 car 28 years ago. So, we're approaching the 30-year mark. And like if
sorry, say that your
Audi.
Your Audi was.
Yes.
Okay.
So like I've even done that math. If you transition that price and then bump up by normal inflation to a modern price,
yeah,
it's under $100,000 still.
Yeah.
So like my Audi was a bargain at the time. So like it was like $93,000, I think, is what it came out to in 2023 money.
Yeah.
Roughly speaking, from its MSRP. So like, yeah, okay. So we went from 93 to like 110, 113 in modern context for if you're trying to bump up to RS6, but if you're trying to stay relevant and stay with the S6 because it's not an RS6.
Well, RS6s are 140.
But if you're trying to stay with the S6 brand, then in theory, then my car cost more inflation adjusted than the modern S6.
Yeah. And like the same shit is also being said about Supras too. When the A90 Supra dropped, it was like 50-ish. It was like 55, and people lost their shit. And then adjusted for inflation, I think the Mark IV Supra was like around 80 to 90 in 2019.
Yeah.
Money. So
see, and this is, let's see. So what I was looking at, I was trying to find the Integra Type R, like a late 90s, early 2000s, the same one that
Brad has.
Yeah. I was trying to find a rough idea of the MSRP on that because, like, just to see. I found a couple figures, and I don't know which ones are accurate. One says starting at 23.5. Another one says like 26. But again, if you adjust those figures, it's about an 80% difference from the late 90s to now as far as inflation goes. We're basically within spitting distance still.
Yeah.
And it's always cost 20 to 30% more than the equivalent Honda. So we're still there. And everything's still proportionally right. It's just people see larger numbers.
Yep.
And I get it. It sucks. Everything is expensive. I get it. But at the same time,
it's going to keep going that way too.
Yeah, everything's going to keep going up. Like, I don't know what
the
you want.
cost to make shit goes up. The supply chain itself and access to shit keeps getting more difficult.
And cars are beyond more complex than they used to be.
Oh my God.
It's not even close. In fact, I have a friend, Bryce's coworker's husband that works at Mercedes. Their newest car has 260 modules on it. As far as like electronic control modules for something.
Yeah. Granted,
it's a Mercedes, but that same...
And you said their top model, you said?
Their newest one. So one of the new SUVs that came out in the last year. When they scan it, when he goes in with his scan tool, 260 different modules. So
would that be like a GLS?
Things. Yeah, I
probably.
think so. I think so. But like,
and it doesn't get more simple when you go to EVs either.
It doesn't. Not at all. And so... that same thing has happened with every car. Like you go to even a base Civic, it's going to have at least 20 to 30 different modules - computers for various tasks. You're getting, I think one of the things that people get lost in translation a lot is that even taking the inflation adjustment out of effect, a car from now, 2023, of almost any maker model is at least 2 to 3 times safer than a car from even 10 years ago. The safety in cars, even in the past decade, let alone the past 3 decades, is immeasurable in how much better it is. If you get in a crash in a car, again, almost any model today, you are much more likely to survive than you used to be. As much as I love, for instance, Radwood era cars, most of them were built like absolute fucking shit. Yeah. They were tin cans with wheels. It's part of what made them good. They were lightweight. Like, then that's the whole point of even Throttle House's video, is that cars are heavy now. Very true.
Yeah.
But
the M2 is 4,000 pounds.
I bring up, actually, in my Saab video, which, by the way, you should go watch that because it just went and premiered live.
Oh, yeah, that was
yesterday.
By the time you're hearing this, yesterday.
I mention in there several bits about the Top Gear video, and they say twice in the Top Gear video special on Saab that nobody could ever figure out why a Saab cost so much until they crashed it.
Yeah.
Because compared to everything else at the time, it and Volvo were untouchable.
Yeah.
In the 80s and 90s. And nowadays...
even before that, too, like in the 70s.
And nowadays, that's pretty much the standard modern car, is that level of crash protection. So, like, you're getting so much more for your money on pretty much every level, from economics to engineering to technology to safety.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry that cars cost more, but the reality is there's reasons. And sadly, for better or for worse, a lot of those reasons are very valid. So, anyways, I do think that I am genuinely curious once these Type-S's actually legitimately drop what they're like, because they look really good.
I think they look great. I mean, it's one of the, I don't want to say one of the only new cars because I don't want to be a Debbie Downer with modern cars, but it is one of the cars that actually excite me that has come out this year. And this is probably the only normal car, like when normal, quote unquote, it's like this and the GR Corolla,
cars that are in essence attainable to the average person with a stretch. But
I mean, not just that, but things that are not purpose-built sports cars.
Yeah,
things that are just like actual just cars. It's like this and GR Corolla, and then when you venture outside of that is like GT4 RS, Emira. I quite like the Emira. I'm trying to think of what else.
I mean, you're not quite there, but you're starting to approach entry-level Carrera territory. You're like within
with what, Amira?
as far as pricing goes.
Yeah, I think those are like 90 to 100.
Yeah, so you're within spitting distance of that. If you're spending 80, it's likely that you could potentially spend 90 to 100 at that level. So you're getting real up there. So I think that this, similar to like, for instance, things like the Stinger or like that, will hit a very good middle ground.
Yeah.
Where it's a stretch for an average person, but it's not beyond somebody's means that would have been spending money for a new car anyways.
Right. Well, what's also crazy, RS3s, when the Stinger came out, those were kind of in the same ballpark because I think base RS3s were 55, I think. And now they're 75 grand.
Yeah, they've gone up a lot.
They went up a lot.
Same with, so right as the Stinger launched was also the same time that the new RS5 launched.
Oh, yeah, the B9.
The B9.
Yeah.
And with the whole slope back and everything, and the updated 2.9 liter.
Yeah.
And those were, I think they started originally at like 66 or somewhere in there, and those have also gone up to like the mid to low 80s.
How much did Diana get hers for?
I actually don't know.
I feel like she spent a lot more on it for some reason.
She may have, because that was also, again, right before the COVID times, and right as we started to get close to that.
She got hers in like 2018?
18, 19, yeah.
I think it was 18.
Yeah.
Anyways.
That was where some things started to creep up. In fact, I was actually thinking about this. That was actually where I think markups started to creep up. I had this thought the other day that right before COVID, in around 2018, the first car I can think of that started to have like noteworthy major markup was Gladiators.
Oh, interesting. Well, I mean, it had been happening before that.
It had, depending on
Hellcats. Those had like 20 grand markups, and the FK8 Civic Type R also had like $15,000 to $20,000 markups.
Yeah, and so in that,
and that was 2015.
Yeah, in that era, like 15 to 20, like that 5 years is where we first started to see those like markups really hit like quote unquote normal cars. Like again, Type R, Gladiator, things like that.
Yeah.
Prior to that, yeah, I mean, you go to the big boys, you would see markups all the time for no good reason, just because
GT3s, it was a thing since at least the 997s.
Exactly.
That was 20 grand, but that was also 20 grand on a 6-figure car, so it was like, I mean, I hate the principle of it, but like it wasn't like, 20 grand on a $35,000 car.
Yeah, the ratios worked out because it was like 5% of the purchase price.
Right.
It was not okay, but made sense.
I like the principle of it, but
from a math perspective.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I think that they honestly nailed it with the pricing, just because that is what cars are these days. And I think for what you're getting for what it's worth, at least on paper, it looks fantastic. And I didn't see it just in this quick little Google search I did, but there was one article I came across that I loved the title of. It was just like, newsflash, the Integra Type-S pricing is either more or less than you expected. I was like, that was a great headline. Whoever did that was a genius level comedian.
Oh, it's and okay, so there's Car and Driver saying that it's $7,100 more than the Type R.
Yeah, because the Type R starts at like 52, 51.8, 52 or something like that.
Well, the Type S is like 51.
Sorry, 41.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Low 40s for the Civic Type R versus low 50s for the Civic, or for the Integra Type-S.
Yes.
Too many types.
You are not a Honda guy.
No. Clearly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I see a value in it. I have a good feeling about the car, about, how it'll drive and how, nice it'll be, and, value for money. And like, I see it with that, and that makes me excited. And I haven't really felt that way about cars in a while. I'd like to get one for review. I think that would be rad.
I see actual effort, and that's what excites me.
Yeah, I do too. And it's not just marketing bullshit.
Because there has been, we'll just say, a trend where a lot of manufacturers have started, for about a decade now especially, releasing things like, for instance, Audi has S-Line. There's like little packages that they'll throw onto the regular car to make them to the average consumer seem more exciting, but there's not that much effort there.
Right. Appearance packages in general. M-Line, S-Line, AMG line.
Yep.
Yeah.
All of those type of things. And those are low effort, low hanging fruit that they know if they get somebody in there that's not really in the know.
Subaru Wilderness trims.
Yep. They'll be like, oh, yeah, this is this package, which makes it so much better.
If we throw enough gold on it, people will, be handing us money hand over fist.
It's all marketing BS, where I do have to appreciate that, like with Acura, it is legitimately an identifiable, different car that does seem to have a lot of special attentions put to its buttholes. Nice Canadian reference right there.
Attentions paid. I do kind of wish that this was actually just the Integra.
And then there was a Type-S above it?
A Type-S or Type R above it. Like, say the Civic Type R motor and gearbox and driveline, if that was in like a two-door version of this and that was the Integra, people will go fucking crazy for that.
Well, I do remember quite a few people complaining, like, "Oh, the Integra Type series is supposed to be two-door." It's like, no.
No, they've been four-door. The original was actually four-door.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also would be curious to see how this car would behave and how it would be if it had super handling all-wheel drive.
True.
And the manual and the 300 whatever horsepower, turbo four-cylinder.
True. I think that is one way that it's probably how they had to get it down to that 50,000 price bracket.
Yeah, if it had super handling all-wheel drive, it'd be 65 plus.
Yeah, it would be a significant amount because here they were able to reuse at least most of the drivetrain.
Yeah.
With just tweaks versus that they would probably have to do a ton of retooling.
A bunch of repackaging. Yeah.
Yeah, tons of work. And I don't know. I think it would have been cool, too. That would have been awesome to see on something like that.
Because that would have really converted it into a full-on sports sedan, I think.
Yeah, a full-on sports sedan that is very usable year-round. Yes, front-wheel drive cars can be made very decent in the snow and can be totally usable. You do it every day. But like having super handling all-wheel drive that, in theory, should make it better at both winter duties and potentially track duties if it's done right.
Yeah.
Would be a fantastic thing.
Yeah, I mean, and super handling all-wheel drive, for those that have driven it, know how good it is. I actually haven't really driven one with it, but
yeah,
or when I say one, I mean a car with super handling all-wheel drive. I hear amazing things about it and how it's basically super predictive and knows what to do when things happen, especially like the most recent versions. But
yeah, because I think technically speaking, they branded what was in the NSX as super handling all-wheel drive, but it's completely different because it's driven electrically by the front wheels.
Yeah,
it's not even the same.
It's completely different.
So to get it in a regular model, I'd be genuinely curious as well, especially with a small car like that. Not that many small cars like that. It's really just small quotes. Small by modern standards.
Small by, a 4,300, 4,200 pound sedan is now small? Okay.
Sadly, it kind of is.
Yeah.
But in we'll call it mid to smaller package in modern context would be really cool because we've only just now, this recent generation, have things like the Mazda 3 gotten all-wheel drive.
Yep.
Up until now, most of the small chassis have stayed vehemently front-wheel drive. Because
all-wheel drive Corolla.
Yeah. Yeah, with
GR.
With the GR, it's only been very recently that we've figured out how to package all that shit together. Mm-hmm. So maybe I don't know. Maybe they looked at it and just said we wouldn't have enough people to buy that. Whereas at 50,000, if we cut all the other stuff out and call it a Type-S, people will buy it.
Very likely. Very, very likely. Do you have anything else?
No, that's really it.
Cool. Well, thank you all for listening. I keep on saying this at the end of our episodes, but we have merch. Come and buy some. I booked a photo shoot with our. You've met Vinny, haven't you?
Once, yeah.
Vinny Meyer. He has an R35 GTR, and when he booked the photo shoot, he was like, "Hey, by the way, I'm gonna pay you extra money, so get me some of your merch."
Hell yeah.
So. Shout out to Vinny Meyer. We have to book that photo shoot before I leave, or maybe after I come back from Overland Expo.
Yeah.
He's getting a new wrap, and so he needs new media.
Hell
which will be fun. But basically, I'm going through all this to say go buy our merch because we have merch to buy. We have shirts. We have hoodies that you can
buy. Yeah.
That you can buy. Those will take a little longer. But shirts, hats, stickers, and hoodies. All of that, and also articles on www.exhibitionofspeed.com. Until next time, I have been Gavin.
And I've been Justin.
And this has been the Exhibition of Speed podcast. Goodbye.